What's up, everybody? Jigsaw's Judgment today. Let's talk a little Eagles, man. I told you before, every time I wake up, I stroll across the main news stories of the day, kind of figure out what's hitting, what people are talking about. And I have to touch on this report of Trent Dilfer comparing Daniel Jones, or I should say, comparing Carson Wentz to Daniel Jones. It's disturbing to me. It really is. But before we get into that, we had a lot of interesting stuff going on today when we talk about the U.S. Open is back. We're talking about game 2 tonight, Miami and Boston. We have a Thursday night football game coming on. We have a lot of stuff for everybody to talk about. And listen, sports are back, and that's one of the most important things. But I got to get into this Trent Dilfer talk here, comparing Carson Wentz to Daniel Jones, which I think people are getting way out of control, in my opinion, when we're talking about these comparisons. I don't like to compare people, a lot. Obviously we do it, but the problem is, why? Like, some of these are so way off the chain here. They really are. They don't make any sense to me, and I try to make sense of them. And I understand. Listen, I understand they have a job to do, and obviously I don't work for the big 4-letter network. And Trent Dilfer does, so he gets to bring his views on the national spotlight. But I mean, listen, I'm going my article that came out. Okay, I'll tell you exactly what he said. He's talking about, Carson Wentz in his 5th year, Daniel Jones in the 2nd year, saying he's learning the discretion part. Him and Carson Wentz are exactly in the same category. I don't understand that statement. How can you tell me that Carson Wentz and Daniel Jones are in the same category? It's ridiculous to me. Absolutely ridiculous. I think that is one of the dumbest statements I've ever heard. Just my opinion. Now, what he does is he bases this on, he says they're both still learning. I don't have to win every single play. Not every play is the most important play of my life. There are times when punting isn't terrible. There are times when just getting to the next down and keeping the ball is the most important thing. And it sounds so lame. Nobody wants to hear that. Listen, I can tell you, man, that that is a big knock on Carson, a huge knock on Carson, and I'm not ready to knock Carson like that. I'm not. Mike checks in. What's up, Mike? You compare skill sets. I feel like, sure. And you know what, Mike? I wouldn't have had a problem with that. If you want to compare skill sets, that's fine. If you want to say Daniel Jones, is working towards the same kind of skill set that Carson Wentz has, but to say that Carson Wentz and Daniel Jones are on the same level right now, I think is ridiculous. I think we are way out of hand. Do we not remember all the quarterbacks that came through Philadelphia after Donovan McNabb? Do we not understand all the quarterbacks that came before Donovan McNabb, between Randall Cunningham and Donovan McNabb? I don't understand. And the thing why I say that is there's actually a gigantic base of Philadelphia that is agreeing with this article. And I don't understand it. Listen, this was one friggin' game, man. This was one game, and I get it. I'm very critical of Carson. He does have to get rid of the ball. I understand that, and he does have to sense pressure. I understand that, and he does have to elevate his game. But to put him on the same totem pole as Daniel Jones right now, after 1 week, I think is absolutely ridiculous. And if you go on and you read the article, this is straight off of Eagles Wire. NJ.com is basically who held the article or held the interview. It says, as an example, Dilfer used Aaron Rodgers' season opening performance against the Vikings as proof. He throws the ball away 3 times in the red zone, Dilfer said, and you're probably watching the game going, oh, this stinks. Conservative Aaron. Then he goes and torches them for 4 touchdowns and lights them up because he realizes that not one play lives alone by itself. I think that's what Daniel and Carson are both trying to learn. Listen, I get it. we all feel that Carson needs to throw the ball away. I understand it is one game, but the same thing. Yes, you're right, Mike. I agree. It's the same thing with Ben. Listen, that's a different conversation. I'm not gonna. I am not gonna sway on your side with Ben. I'm not. I have a different feeling about Ben. Sato, what's up, buddy? How you doing? As Sato, our cornhole man. Listen, I promised Sato I would do this, and I will continue to do it. Sato's corner. Sato's cornhole corner. Damn, Sato, that's a tongue twister. But check it out on Facebook. He has his own page. He is going to have Sean Latham of Barstool Sports, the $20 chef, on next Thursday's show. Listen, if you like cornhole, if you haven't got into it, you need to get into it. Sato is the truth. He has a ton of great interviews, a ton of great stuff on his site. Go check him out, especially. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I found cornhole on ESPN last year. I was like, I was scrolling through, and I'm a bowling guy. Okay, I do. I love bowling. I've bowled for years. I'm a big Pete Weber fan. If people know who Pete Weber is, Walter Ray Williams. Listen, there's a lot of tremendous bowlers out there, and I found cornhole on ESPN, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, we have ESPN coverage of cornhole, tremendous. So check out Sato's cornhole corner, man, for real. It's legit. Brian checks in. This is the comparison. Big Ben. Built exactly the same attacking mentality, and loves to extend plays. We just need Ben to give Carson a call and explain what he's learned. Stop taking hits. It's okay to throw the ball away. It's okay to check down. It's okay to punt. It's okay to regroup. Listen, Brian, that is spot on, man. Spot on. And I think we have continued to say, week in and week out, that is absolutely a good comparison. Because of, number one, because of the size, right? Number two, because of the strength, and he's worked on it in the offseason. You've seen that, but his judgment just has to be a little better. But let's go this, Brian. Let's think about this, and I would challenge Trent Dilfer the same way. Why not? How about when we look at the simple fact that maybe we're asking Carson to do too much? Right? Maybe Carson is trying too hard, and he's trying too hard because why? He doesn't have the talent around him. Just maybe, right? Again, you have to think, under a different psyche, under a different pretense sometimes. And I'm not making excuses. He definitely has to do better, but I think that is something that has some legitimacy. It really does. Sato, Pete Weber. Pete Weber is my guy, Sato, 100%. John, what's up, buddy? Checking in, as always. Last Out Media, doing great things. We're going to be working together a little bit, which is some exciting stuff. Mike checks in again. I just feel both Ben and Carson, we see weakness, expect them to work on them. And you're right. Elevate their game. But I think everybody, the difference is with Ben Simmons, we're expecting him to do something he's never done, right? We're expecting him to do something he's never done. At least with Carson, I think we've already seen the capabilities. Before he got injured, he was doing those kind of things. He was trying to get the extra step and extra yard, obviously, but throwing the ball away and making better decisions. I think we've seen that more. We've seen that from him. So I think he still has that. With Ben, we're asking him to do things that he's not accustomed to doing. He's never had his own shot. He's never had to create his own shot because he's been dominant his entire career, whether it be on a peewee level or whether it be on a high school level or a collegiate level. He's always been dominant. So he's a guy that can go coast to coast and never have to worry about the competition. Never had to worry about creating his own shot because he was his own shot, right? So that's the only difference I would say about Ben and Carson. Carson, though, definitely has to get better. 100%. Brian agrees. Yeah, listen, I still think he's trying to make up for the lack of talent around him, which I think that obviously we've talked about that before. That is a front office problem and a coaching problem as well. Andre checks in 100%. Looking for that A-bomb today, Andre. We're going to get into some Sixers talk in a little bit. I keep saying the Daryl Morey D'Antoni connection. I don't like it. I'm being honest with you. We're going to get with that a little bit. I already see Mark Jackson being, he's being a front runner for Indiana, which I love Mark Jackson myself. So we're gonna get a little Sixers talk in a little bit and talk about a little Phillies bullpen collapse. But Mike Doug has to improve too. His presser was bad. His presser was terrible. His press conferences suck. They absolutely suck. Listen, I'll tell you what. If you took, the old adjective where you say you do the taste testing, like I'm a big guy. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a big peanut butter guy. I just said I'm a big guy. That's obvious, right? But no, for real, I'm a big peanut butter guy. And I swear that there is a big difference between peanut butters. And people don't agree with me. I love Jif. Jif is my favorite. And if you do a blind test, a blindfold test, you put Skippy and Jif in a cup, I can definitely distinguish the difference. Now, why I say that is if I go to a press conference and I don't know who Doug Peterson is, and I hear him talk, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying to myself, man, is this the quality controls guy? Is this the water boy? Is this the Gatorade grabber? Like, who is this guy? This can't be the head coach. I don't know if maybe he just doesn't talk well in front of people. I don't understand. He doesn't look like, when you see his after game, speeches to his team, I don't think they're very motivational. I think we all could probably say the same kind of thing. But listen, the guys love playing for him. So there's something to be said about that. But you're right. His pressers are terrible. Saying how we are limited on plays, what we could do is 2nd and 7. How can we do screens? Listen, and that's the thing. Wrong reminds me of Andy, but doesn't adapt to the game situations. He is not a game day coach, man. Doug is not a game day coach. I think we know that. No, we can't do play action when our running game isn't working or you aren't running. It's becoming predictable. We've talked about this for years, and Mike, it continues on the same path, and it is the coach. It is the philosophy. That's just the way it is. It's not going to change. It sucks, but it's not. Ben isn't going to change his game until he gets older, when his skills naturally diminishes. That's a good statement, Andre. It really is. I mean, when you think about it, that's exactly what Michael Jordan did, right? When you think about Michael Jordan, he wasn't the tremendous shooter coming out, and he relied a lot on his athleticism to get to the hole and make fantastic, magical plays. And then what did he do? When he came back, he developed that ridiculous, unguardable fadeaway. Right? Unguardable fadeaway. That's what he developed, because nobody could stop that. He didn't have that in his repertoire when he first came into the league. He developed that later when some of his athletic ability was, I wouldn't say diminishing, but it was falling off a little bit because, again, Father Time is undefeated, man. You get up there in age, you can only do so much. Listen, I'm telling you, listen, I will say one thing, and I don't want to get in this crazy peanut butter talk. It wasn't make exactly. We all know is not the same. I will tell you something. The one thing I will say with Skippy, it's a 100% bread breaker. That's the problem. If I want to get a peanut butter sandwich and I have to break the bread, the spread, I'm out. Can't do it. And Jif is a complete beautiful thing where you can get that with a butter knife, you get that with a plastic and spread that thing right on. It's a wonderful thing. And Mike checks in. This just goes back to Carr trying to do too much. It is, and this goes back to the same question that I kind of related to everybody before about, this is what happened with Donovan, but Donovan was able to do more with less than Carson is. And is that to say, is that a knock on Carson? No, everybody's different. Everybody has different abilities. Everybody has different talent structures. But Donovan McNabb was able to do so much more with so much less. If you think about it, when you think about the receiving core that he got, listen, I mean, you started off with Torrance Small and Charles Johnson, and then you go to Pinkston and Thrash, and, you talk about Freddie Mitchell, Chad Lewis, LJ Smith. I mean, think about the guys he dealt with behind center until he was able to get a guy like T.O. So, they even tried guys. Remember, Dante Stallworth had a cup of tea here. They were trying everything, and Donovan was just able to make the team that good. It really was, and it was good that, that he had the running back position as well. Mike, back to work. Have a great show, bro. Thanks, Mike. As always, second in. Mike is an avid follower. I really appreciate it. We've got to keep in mind, Andre checking in. Ben is a generation player, and unfortunately, this is the type of player we have. Now that we know that, we have to make moves around him to be successful. I completely agree, 100%. I think for Ben. See, here's the thing: Ben can't create his own shot, right? And I hear people talk about spacing, right? We don't have enough spacing on the court. Well, you need somebody to create space, right? You need somebody to create space. So you got to look at it this way. So Ben, say what you want. Ben is not going to develop a shot to where everybody is threatened, right? So everybody says, oh, well, if at least he tries a shot, people are going to defend him and they're going to respect his game that much more. I kind of disagree. Here's what I think about Ben Simmons. I think Ben Simmons needs somebody else to create space for Ben, because I still don't think Ben needs to shoot. I think Ben needs to finish. So just hear me out for a second. Think about this theory. If you were able to bring somebody in here, and I know this is a long shot, right? If you were able to bring somebody in here like a Devin Booker that is going to create space on the floor, he is going to command attention. That is going to open up the lanes for Ben Simmons to do what? Dunk the ball, a little finger roll, layup, floater, everything within that 10-foot radius of the rim. That's what this team needs to be. That's how you build around Ben. Building around Ben is not saying we're going to make Ben the focal point of our offense when he's not an offensive player in that standpoint. You can't do that. And I think that's what's wrong here. We're building, you want to build around Ben, that's fine, but you need somebody in here to create the space that Ben needs in order to be Ben, if that makes sense. That's the way I look at it. I want somebody in here to create space for Ben. Ben cannot create the space for somebody else. That's what people can be able to realize. And that's why this system is not working, right? Tobias Harris isn't that guy. Tobias Harris is a standalone shoot. That's it. He's a standalone shooter. And he hasn't even shot that great either. But he's a standalone shooter. He's not a guy to create his own space, right? He's not a Jason Tatum. He's not a Jaylen Brown. He's not a Kemba Walker. And I say that because these are the guys you watch in Boston that can create space for other players. And listen, everybody is unique, right? And I think, honestly, this is what the problem is. I know we're kind of going to a basketball segment here, but that's fine because I like to jump around. But I really think that's what's going on with Giannis right now. I think with Giannis, it's showing that Giannis cannot be the absolute guy. He needs somebody to be able to create space for him. Okay, that's what he needs. And I think that's the difference between having one superstar as opposed to two superstars. And I think that's why in the NBA, you see teams need at least two guys. And I think that's what Ben Simmons needs. I really do. Now, are we going to get it? Who knows? I mean, think about this, right? Think about if the Philadelphia 76ers drafted Jason Tatum instead of Markelle Fultz. I know I hate bringing this up because hindsight 2020. I still say I wanted Fultz. I know a lot of you guys on here wanted Fultz. I mean, I wanted Tatum. A lot of you guys wanted Tatum. I did not want Fultz. I'm sorry. Let me preface that by saying now I don't know where that statement came from. It's too early. I didn't have all my coffee yet. But what I will say is, he would have been the perfect complement to Ben Simmons because Jason Tatum is the guy to command attention and create space. Think about that. Now, nobody covers Ben. You're right, because they don't respect him. But they still cover Ben inside the box. They don't cover him out at the 20 or the 25-foot mark. But if you have a guy like Jason Tatum, or you have a guy like Devin Booker, or a guy like Russell Westbrook, or a guy like James Harden, and I know, or CP3, guy like Chris Paul, who's going to command attention. It's going to bring that guard up, right? It's going to bring that guard up. And then in that same token, it's going to open up space within the box for Ben Simmons to absolutely, basically carve up the defense, in my opinion. The opposite situation the Lakers had back in 80-81 when they needed a big point guard to run the offense. The problem is we don't have a Worthy or Cooper. That's a good point. That is a really good point. I'll tell you what, Andre, that they were my days, man. I'm going to tell you, I was a huge avid watcher of the Lakers back then. I think maybe me and you were around the same age, middle-aged, and I remember watching maybe not 80-81, but I would say like 85, 86, 87, 88, and just watching those Lakers teams, man, were fantastic. I remember, watching the James Worthys and the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars, the Kurt Rambises coming off the bench, right? AC Green, who played a tremendous tremendous role. James Worthy. Listen, you said it. Obviously, Magic running the court. Michael Cooper. I mean, that team was fantastic. And obviously, I wish we had that team in Philadelphia, but we don't. But I still think that's what we're missing when it comes to 76ers. And I'm not understanding. I still don't understand the Mike D'Antoni and Daryl Morey infatuation. It sure seems like to me, that maybe we have a scenario where it's Billy Donovan or Mike D'Antoni. I'm not sure. I still don't know why Nate McMillan doesn't get any love. I still think that Elton Brand really wants Tyronn Lue, in my opinion. It's just I don't know. It's going to be interesting when they start the interviews this week. My dad lied to my mom about talking to me to the dentist to sneak me out of school to go to the championship parade 82, 83. That's awesome, man. That's absolutely awesome. I cannot wait for us to have a Sixers parade one day. I really do. And I'm very concerned that I don't know when that's going to happen because we have so many issues, on this team. We really do. Not sure what moves are going to be able to be made. Not sure what, I'm curious. The biggest thing is, what's going to happen is there's going to have obviously be a discussion. And that discussion, when we talk about the Sixers, is going to have to be, what is the direction? Whatever coach, what is the direction? I hear you, but I have the A-bomb about the Sixers coaching. So, for all you watching right now and all you listening, and this will be podcasted as well, but, Andre is, I have self-appointed him as our Sixers insider for Heat Ratio Sports because my man is all over the scene. And again, I work like 10 jobs, so I can't keep up on everything. I do the best I can. But Andre is the man dropping the bombs. Listen, I understand ESPN has the Woj bomb, and that's great. That's okay. We got the A-bomb here on Heat Ratio. We got the A-bomb when we're talking about, Jigsaw's judgment, dropping the A-bomb. So, Andre, hit us with the A-bomb. What are you hearing? What are you hearing about the coaching situation? Because that's one of the biggest things, I want to end this segment on is this Sixers coaching situation because it is so important. And I'll be honest, I cannot wait for game 2 tonight between Miami and Boston. And I hate to say that because I know Boston is one of our rivals, but I'll tell you, man, if anybody watched that first game between Boston and Miami, it did not disappoint whatsoever. It was a tremendous, tremendous game. And I'm even looking forward to the Nuggets and the Lakers. I think the Nuggets have a really good young team. I think they'll give the Lakers a little fits, but to think that they'll win is a little asinine. But, who knows? Stranger things have happened. It's 2020. We don't know. But one thing's for sure, at least we know the Denver Nuggets are going to be a team to reckon with for the future. My source told me I sent a text last night out to Sam Cassell to protect my source, LA Clippers assistant. Sam Cassell. I love Sam Cassell. Andre, I don't know if you were the one who mentioned Sam Cassell a couple weeks ago when we started talking. I know you were one of the guys. I don't know if you were the guy that mentioned him first off the bat. But Sam Cassell is a killer, man. I love Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell is, for my money, kind of exactly what you need on this team, right? But I'll tell you what, Sam Cassell will definitely have to bring in a guard here to play. We got that right. So we're about 8 coaches, but they know who they want. That's interesting. Carson Wentz is DK checks in. Flipping back to football here, Carson Wentz is top 3. Wow. Listen, man, I love Carson Wentz. I don't know if he's top 3 right now, man. I'm thinking of at least probably 5 to maybe 6 quarterbacks at least that I would take above Carson Wentz. Honestly, right now, obviously the conversation it begs that, on the fact that are we talking about for the next 5 years or right now? If you're a win now mode, there may be more quarterbacks, to be honest with you. Top 3 was judge it when he has a running game and an O-line. Listen, I'm being honest with you. DK, listen to me. I'm a huge Carson supporter. I don't want you to think that. what we're talking about. I don't know if you've been listening to the whole show, if you just came in now. I'm talking about Trent Dilfer comparing Daniel Jones to Carson Wentz, or I should say Carson Wentz to Daniel Jones, which I think is utterly ridiculous. So I'm with you. I said this yesterday. I said it on Monday for the overreaction show on Jigsaw's Judgment. I really do. I said I want to see when Lane Johnson and Miles Sanders get back in, but the one thing that still concerns me is the inability for Carson to throw the ball away and to sense pressure. That's exactly my point. That's the only thing that worries me about Carson Wentz. That and he's also trying to do too much right now. When I got Carson at number 6, Andre, I'm with Andre. I'm like 6 or 7. I really am. You think about it right now. Russell Wilson has to be at top of that list, right? He has to be there. Listen, for all intents and purposes, Aaron Rodgers, with what he did in week 1, he still has to be there. We already know Patrick Mahomes. We already know Lamar Jackson. Kyler Murray, that's an interesting scenario, right? When you think about, do we go Kyler Murray or do we go Carson Wentz? So that's an interesting conversation. Drew Brees still has to be up there, right? We still have to think about that. And I think that's where Carson falls, like right in that list. So I think he's between 6 and 7. I really do. He has weapons like, listen, throwing it away, taking unnecessary hits. That's definitely what we've talked about. That cannot happen. He has weapons like, listen, who has weapons like, we're talking about Russell Wilson. Hey, here's the thing about Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is probably, if for my money, one of the most intelligent quarterbacks in the game when we're talking about game day film and breaking down a defense. He reads coverages like no other. He is extremely intelligent on the field. And I'll tell you what, he for my money, I think he is. I know Patrick Mahomes. I get it. I know Lamar Jackson, but I think Russell Wilson's the best quarterback in the NFL. In my opinion, Murray throws a much better spiral and accurate ball than Wentz. He does. That. Brian, I'm not going to lie to you, man. Kyler Murray, he came in this league and everybody right away was like, no Kyler, no Kyler, no Kyler. But look at Bill, my man, Bill Alvin, as always, PI supporter, always going back and forth with Jigsaw. I appreciate Bill tremendously. I got to get my boy Chuck Baller on here as well, but Bill, would you trade Wentz to get Trevor Lawrence? Hell no, Bill. Hell no. I love you, Bill, but I would not do that trade at all. I wouldn't. I think if you were to trade Wentz to get Trevor Lawrence, I think you take about 5 steps back in this organization, because let's face it, right? We're a win now, and our window is probably the next 4 years. Right. And I say next 4 years because of guys like Lane Johnson, because of guys like Miles Sanders, Jalen Reagor, and Carson Wentz. And if you look on the defense, Darius Slay, he's getting up there. Roddy McLeod getting up there. You still have Jalen Mills. Fletcher Cox, is going to be getting to that point. So I think that is our window. It's like 4 years. So no, I would definitely not do that deal. Not at all. Carson is strong. Almost escape. Yes, very strong. His legs are tremendously strong, but he has to get rid of that ball. I completely agree, 100%. Wilson is a coach, a quarterback. That is a great statement, because he is. Listen, and hey, Andre, not for nothing, but he's living the life at home too. Sierra, good for him, man. Congrats. But 1-2 step, right? But in all seriousness, Russell came out of college, with the unbelievable education that he established for himself. You could tell by the way he talks, the way he breaks down things. He's just a tremendous coach on the field. Doug needs to help him with the shallow crawl. Listen, DK, I'm 100% in agreement with you. I've been talking about that all week. The crossing routes are what could save Carson Wentz. Shallow crossing routes. The 5-yard outs. Listen, we watched. Remember, we watched Chad Lewis make a living of the 3-step and out, right? How many times did we get like 2nd and 7, coming up because of a fall down Chad? But that's okay. Donovan got rid of the ball, which is what I want Carson to do as well. That is one thing that has to happen. run 7-step drops with a bad line. You also can't run 7-step drops when you have no running game, right? And that's the thing, that everything, you had a bad line and no running game, but we were expecting our speed guys to outrun everybody. That just, it didn't happen. It's not going to work. He definitely quick discovers with Sierra. I'll tell you, man, he did. Sierra, man, woo! I'll tell you, she's got to be on the top 5 right there. I love Sierra. Listen, her choreography, her beats, her music, her style, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Very, very underrated music sensation when we talk about Sierra. DK said, how do you feel about trading Ertz? I would trade Ertz yesterday. Okay. I've been very vocal about that, and a lot of people have been giving me flack about it because, they say Zach Ertz is an elite tight end. I would trade Zach Ertz yesterday. I would get what you can for Zach Ertz. That's what I would do because, listen, this is a business. I keep saying it. It's a business, and you see when you draft Dallas Goedert, you didn't draft him to be the second fiddle to Zach Ertz. You drafted him to hope he developed into the guy to replace Zach Ertz when that contract was up. That's how you win in the NFL. You don't lock yourself up to big money deals for players that are 30 and older unless they are that special. Okay, Jason Kelce is special. He got a huge deal, but he also has nobody behind him. George Kittle is special. Kittle also, nobody behind him. Zach Ertz is very, very good. Is he special? No. Is he elite? No. Is he very, very good and talented? Yes. Is he a guy that I'm going to pay $25 million guaranteed to? No. Can't do it. Not when I have a guy in Dallas Goedert who, he may not be on Zach Ertz level today, but next year he will be. He will be. Listen, you see what he did. You see what he's a different kind. He's a tougher tight end. He's stronger than Zach Ertz. He's not going to run the routes. Zach Ertz is a hybrid tight end. Zach Ertz is a guy who can run routes like a wide receiver. Okay, can Dallas Goedert do that? No. But all you have to do is look at what Denver and Noah Fant. Okay, Noah Fant to me is the up-and-coming tight end of the NFL. Dallas Goedert is the same way. They are built with that same kind of grit, same kind of escapability. You look at guys like Darren Waller out in Vegas, another guy, another tight end. Hayden Hurst, Hunter Henry. Listen, there are younger guys coming up, so I would 100% trade Zach Ertz in a heartbeat, especially if I could get really good draft capital and a wide receiver. Andre, that actually came in late, man. We were on the same page. If I could, I'll tell you, unfortunately, when you look at the Cleveland Browns, obviously they don't need a tight end because they just signed Austin Hooper. So, it brings up the OBJ scenario. Allen Robinson, will he be available, in Chicago? I'll tell you what. Who I'd knock down doors for? I'd be calling Jacksonville, because Jacksonville just seems like they're a dumpster fire and they want to trade everybody. So why don't we call Jacksonville and see what they're looking for, and maybe they can give us DJ Chark. Maybe they figure, you know what, DJ Chark, we're starting over here anyway. Even though we like DJ, tremendous player, maybe we can get him in Philadelphia. Who knows? But I think it's something they have to consider. I really do. Brian checks in with a great comment. This is a great analysis. He's a great route runner. Ertz is a great route runner. Tongue-tied again, man. These tongue twisters. Ertz is a great route runner. 100% agree. But has no speed and doesn't break tackles. He doesn't. His yak has to be very low. I don't have it in front of me, but I'll look that up for next show. But his yards after the catch had to be pretty demoralizing. He's going to be a Jason Witten with a new contract. Exactly. See, Brian knows exactly what I'm talking about. This was my fear, and this is why I talked about Zach Ertz last year, trying to get rid of Zach Ertz. Not because I don't like Zach Ertz, because I think that his value is ultimately very, very high right now. And I think that because it is that high, I think that this gives him the ability, or it gives the Eagles the ability to really get him going, in a different format. Trade him now, promote Goddard. That was the plan. Exactly. Don't get attached to what was done in the past. Listen, this is Joe Banner, man. This is Joe Banner territory. Okay, this is absolutely Joe Banner territory. 30 years and up. I like Zach Ertz, but I'm not. Listen, you have other fish to fry here. You're going to have other people to pay, and you have to rebuild this line. You really do. So I am not going Zach Ertz, paying Zach Ertz a ton of money. I'm really not. Yeah, Andre texted. No, Andre, you're not going to believe this, man. Look. This is, who this is, Andre? 34. Okay, I come on, man. Who is this? I'll give you an idea. It's definitely not Danny Manning. It's definitely not Joel Embiid. All right, it's one of my favorite players of all time. There you go, Paul Pierce, baby. Look, Paul Pierce. That's my man. Kansas home, man. I love Paul Pierce. Listen, I got a ton of jerseys, man. I'm gonna break out a really special one again tomorrow. Really am. But Eagles get too emotional with players. We do. And you know what? That's because we're a great fan base. But we are the best fan base in America. So we are allowed to get emotional. We are. But we also have to separate the emotion with the business. And I think, if this is a Brian Dawkins, different, completely different. Okay. I still think, at the same token that, we're trying to put Zach Ertz in the same category of Brian Dawkins, and that's ridiculous to me. I like Zach Ertz. I like everything he stands for, but he's not in that scenario. I don't see him in that light at all. But let me ask you one thing before we get out of here. I want, ton of Eagles talk, which is great. Andre brought up a great point about, he dropped the A-bomb, talking about maybe Sam Cassell, thinking about, interviewing about 8 coaches, which I think the Sixers are going to do. I'm curious to find out what the next move is going to be, because if I'm a coach, the first thing I want to say is, what are we doing with Ben and what are we doing with Joel? So, exactly. Another topic. Look, look at DK dropping in. I have a signed Magic jersey from State. That's awesome, dude. I love that. I have so many jerseys, man. Like I could probably hang from Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Randall, Reggie White, basketball. I got Julius Erving, tons of LeBron's high school jersey. I got Julius Erving's high school jersey, Barkley. So many, man. So many. It's crazy. I love sports, as you can see. Another topic people aren't ready to talk about is moving Cox. Get back to DK. That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. I don't know the value of what Fletcher Cox would have, but I will tell you this. As much as I love me some Fletcher Cox, if I can have Jerron Hargrove, when he gets on the field, play at a very high level, and Malik Jackson can play at the level that he's playing at now, I hate to say it, Eagles fans, I'd have to think about it. I'll be honest with you. I'd have to think about it just a little bit. Just a little bit, because as DK puts, $20 million a year isn't worth it anymore. Fletcher Cox, to me, I need to hear his name more. Fletcher Cox is not doing. Remember the comparisons, Fletcher Cox and Aaron Donald. Okay, we watched Fletcher Cox against Washington, and we watched Aaron Donald on Monday night against the Rams, blowing up 2 to 3 guys at one time. So, and we're talking about 20 million plus, and we're talking about Fletcher Cox and Aaron Donald. We heard Aaron Donald's name. We have not heard Fletcher Cox's name nearly enough. Okay, I completely agree. Would I trade him though? It remains to be seen. We would definitely have to see what we would be getting in return, without a doubt. It's tough to look at Fletcher when I watch. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, you guys are right on point. Right on point. I mean, especially when you know that the market is right there, right? Especially when you know the market value of these players are there. So you're always going to do that. When you sign a guy for big money, you have to look at the market and see who they are compared to and who those top 3 or top 4 players are. And right now, Fletcher Cox is now on the same level as Aaron Donald. So he needs to be playing. Listen, here's the thing. We always make excuses, right? I hear people make excuses all the time. And this is no disrespect because, listen, I'll be honest with you. I do not work at NFL Films. I do not break down Game 22 film. I watch it. Do I understand how to break it down? Absolutely. I ain't going to freaking lie. No. But I also understand what I see, from a fan standpoint. And what I also see is, and here are people that make excuses that Fletcher Cox is double team. Fletcher Cox commands coverage. Well, guess what? Ndamukong Suh, when he was in his heyday, commanded double teams, and he was able to get through those double teams. Aaron Donald commands double teams and triple teams at times, and he's still able to push through that front. So we got to stop making excuses. If you want to get paid $20 million a year and you want to get paid like a top 3 tackle in the NFL, then you have to push through that coverage and you have to stop making excuses. Not to say Fletcher's making excuses, but he needs to get better and he needs to be more explosive, in my opinion. Even J.J. Watt didn't look like Donald last week. Donald just looked dominant. That's it, right. But I also think J.J. Watt is a different animal because J.J. Watt he has so many injuries he's trying to overcome. He's finally healthy. He's getting back. I want to give JJ a couple games yet before I judge JJ because I think he is phenomenal. But Aaron Donald, he was just a man amongst boys. I see it as a business more than most fans. You're right, DK. We have to see it as a business, right? I completely agree with you. It's all about numbers, right? There is a salary cap for a reason, and a salary cap that is going to drop next year. People aren't talking about that. The cap is going to drop. So that cap is going to drop next year, which means the money that you thought you had, you're not going to have. And the Eagles were already looking to be $22 million over. So this is going to be a very interesting offseason. And you may have to get something of value, before his value is gone. And I completely agree with that. That's one thing that we have to look at because trades in the NFL have become more and more frequent now. Remember, back in the day, you never heard of superstars being traded with the frequency that NFL players are now. And, you see that Khalil Mack deal, which was tremendous. And you see the kind of player that he is. So, that be the same impact of Fletcher Cox maybe being dealt somewhere and maybe helping us out. Right. If that's something we want to look at. But I think the more realistic move right now is to look at the Zach Ertz situation, put him on a block and see what you can get. I really do. I think that's something that you really need to do. What's up, Trevor? As always, checking in. DK, you ain't never lied about that. Business moves are already being made for next year. Without a doubt, 100%. They have to be. They 100% have to be. But again, listen, man, we have 42 minutes today. I try to keep these things at like 20, but I can't. I talk way too damn much. I apologize. But I love this shit, man. Seriously, 100%. Arts for Robinson. Listen, I would do that deal in a heartbeat. DK, in a heartbeat. If you told me, now that's the thing. I would pay Al Robinson premium money as opposed to Zach Ertz because Al Robinson is what we need and we don't have the heir apparent in Philadelphia. So I would absolutely, definitely do that deal. DK, nice talking to you as well, man. Absolutely. But now you got me going again. Now you're talking about Robinson, only 27. Now you got me all flowing. The juices are flowing again. And I got another show to do in a couple minutes, so I had to make this sweet. But I would do that in a second, 100%. I think, yo, Ed, what's up, buddy? Checking in, my man. But man, Eddie Smith going back, my boy. Check it in. I'm with you. See what you get for Ertz. You have to. It's a business. And he doesn't. Listen, you already see the heat on the sideline. When you have your player having heated conversations with your general manager, number one, it's not good for team morale. Number two, it's not good for a team culture, team culture benefit. And number three, it just shows that it's not going to happen here. Face it. Again, I keep saying this, but people have to read between the lines. Zach Ertz turned down a huge extension 2 years ago because he wanted to be paid like one of the top 2 tight ends in the league. That number went up because Cleveland got stupid and they paid Austin Hooper a tremendous amount of money. That's what happened. And because they did that, that turned into the George Kittle extension, which was upper echelons of 20 plus million, which is now where Zach Ertz is going to have to be. And that's something I am not doing whatsoever. He was pouting the whole game. Yeah, well, guess what, DK? He was pouting and he was alligator arming too. So you could say what you want, and I'm not saying I don't agree with him, but guess what? At the end of the day, you have to catch that third down play right there. You can't Ricky Waters that ball, and that's what he did. Go back, look at it. He didn't want to get hit. He didn't want to sacrifice. Say what you want. I'm calling him out. Yes, he did it for who, for what, and unfortunately, you're going to continue to see that, as this year goes on because of what's going on. Yeah, it was on 4th down. I'm sorry. Something that could have changed the game, DK. That could have changed the entire landscape of the game at that point. As fans understand when players make business decisions on the court and the field and organizations, there's tough to differentiate. I agree. One thing I will always say is, coming from, a union mentality, in the workforce, I get it. I understand it. I understand market value. I understand trendsetters. I understand, the business. I understand that you cannot take less in order to continue for your business to go up. So, you can't as a tight end and say, I'm going to take a ton of less money because that's going to hurt the next guys coming up in line. That's going to hurt the next breed, the next market, right? So you can't do that. You always need to go up, right? You always need to go up. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Zach Ertz isn't going to get paid. I'm just saying I don't want to be the team to pay him. So I get it. I understand why he's asking for the money, and I completely agree with him because I do think that he deserves that money from somebody. I just don't want to be the team to give it to him. That's my point, because I just think it's going to hamstring us too much. But anyway, guys, I have to roll. Again, thanks so much for joining in, as always, Andre, being a part of the A-Bomb team here at Heat Ratio Sports. I appreciate the coaching insight as well. Andre, ever hear something when we're not going live, yo, man, let me know. Hit me up on IG, throw me a DM. Man, we'll roll live if we're both available. I'll send you the link. We'll get on here together and we'll talk about the coach and stuff, man. It'll be great. I'll split screen it and everything. Personally, I've never cared for Ertz. No, yeah. Listen, I like Zach. I just, I don't think he's elite. I'm going to keep it at that. But again, follow the Heat Ratio at Heat Ratio Sports on all social platforms, please. iTunes, check out the podcast. I do a Fantasy Firebox podcast. We do the Jigsaw's Judgments. I do personal interviews with other people around. And we also have the show that we live stream every week that's also podcasted. So check it out on iTunes. Give us a rating and review. Greatly appreciate it. Follow all my fantasy work at Fox Sports The Gambler. Check it out every day, Monday to Friday, 3:50-ish. We go on Tuesdays a little longer. I will be doing live streams on Sundays as well to get you ready for your fantasy football matchups. Thursday night football tonight, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, going to be interesting. Get your fantasy streamlines together. I'm telling you right now, the thought of the day for me, I'm going to end it with this. I think Joe Burrow has a really good game tonight and is an excellent DFS pick if you're playing a Thursday night only contest. So for that, everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow.